In this video, I want to show you how I make a Hornet mask out of EVA foam. For this project, you're going to need a few materials and tools. Of course, EVA foam. I used 5 to 6 mm thick EVA foam. And you're going to need a paper printer to print the pattern. I printed it out on letter paper and taped all the sheets together with some tape. You're also going to need a large cutting mat so you don't damage your table, and scissors and a knife. Once I've taped all my printed pieces together, I'm using my scissors to cut it out. The pattern only prints one half of the mask, so for the other half you're going to flip over the pieces to get the pattern for the other side. To help me arrange the pieces easily and connect them, I printed out a small version on one sheet of paper to help me through the process. For this video I used 6 mm white EVA foam from the Foamery. You can get this on Amazon or from Foamery. To flatten the foam roll and make it easier to work with, I roll it the other way and then unroll it to get a nice flat even surface to work on. I start lay out my pieces and make sure that I use the foam optimally before I draw on all my pattern pieces. To draw on my pattern pieces on the EVA foam, I use a pencil. There's registration marks that help line up the pieces with the other piece. So if you want to, you can add these registration marks as well. Then I'm using a box cutter to cut up all my pieces. To get nice and even cuts, make sure that your knife is fresh and sharp and try to give it a very fluid motion, even cutting beyond the corner if you can. Once all the pieces for one side are cut out, arrange them in the same way as the small pattern you printed out earlier. This will help keep all the pieces aligned and make sure that you get the right sides and the right numbers. To cut out the other side of the mask, I flip over my pattern pieces and mark all my registration marks and pattern numbers on the other side. Then I'm using these mirrored pieces to cut out the other side of the mask. Again, I try to arrange my pieces to achieve the most coverage with my EVA foam. Once you've cut out the other side of the mask, keep them separate from the other half so you don't confuse the two sides. Make sure to mark which side is the inside of the mask and which side is the outside of the mask. To glue the pieces together, I line up the numbers on my pattern to the numbers of the pieces that I have. And I start gluing things together with contact cement. To glue EVA foam together with contact cement, you apply glue evenly to both sides of the glued edge. Make sure that you cover the entire edge all the way to the edges of the EVA foam. The contact glue I'm using in this video is barge contact cement. Any rubber cement will work, but I find that barge contact cement is the most efficient and strongest glue there is for EVA foam. After I applied the glue to one edge, I apply it to the other side as well. And I have to let it dry for a couple of minutes. So in the meantime, I'm taking another set of pattern pieces and glue that edge as well, so I can leave the other side to dry. When I glue the pieces together, I start with the edges of each piece. This is the tip of the horns that I line up perfectly for the first time. I use my thumb to make sure that the surfaces align nicely. Just a reminder, if you use contact cement, both edges of each piece need to have glue on them and they need to be slightly dry to make sure that the bond works well. I then go to the other side of the pattern and align that end as well. This will make sure that the pieces are nicely offset towards the middle and are not going to be longer on one side or another. There's registration marks on the pattern to help you line up the rest of the sides. Again, I'm using my finger to make sure that the surfaces are nice and smoothly aligned. And I work my way towards the middle. If there's a little bit of a gap, you can squeeze or pull the foam to make sure that everything aligns cleanly. I'm pushing the edges in towards, even though there is a little bit of a length difference. Then press your glued seam down and make sure that everything is nicely aligned and glued down. If you have any gaps in your glued edge, you can peel away a little bit of the seam and add more glue to fix it. After I've pressed both sets together, I can now align the pieces to create one half of the mask. But I have some open seams, so I'm going to fix them with a little bit of glue. Using a popsicle stick, I use a little bit of glue to patch the seam. Again, you have to wait a couple minutes for the glue to dry and become sticky, and then you can fix the seam together. Once I'm happy with my seam, I can now glue both sides together to create one half of the mask. Again, I apply glue on both sides of the edge. And I'm ready to connect the halves together. Again, I'm starting with the outer edges and work my way towards the middle for large seams like this. You can squeeze and pull the foam to make sure that it aligns nicely. I'm using my fingers to guide the seam and make a nice flat seam. Now the other side of the mask is assembled the same way. I'm using a slightly older version of my pattern and I have a little bit of overlap. I'm trimming it away to make sure that I have a nice and smooth mask at the end. I also trimmed a little bit of the foam on the inside of the horn to make it easier to assemble the tip. Here I'm connecting the number 4 piece to the number 1 piece. It is the trickiest part to close up the mask. You can use a little bit of tape to help you glue the seam. It keeps the seam together while the glue dries. Some of my seams popped open, so I used a little bit of extra glue and pressed it in there to fix the seam. Just make sure that you wait until the glue is tacky. I had a little bit of a hard corner on the inside of the mask, so I trimmed it away with my knife and made sure that it is nice and round. I have both sides of my mask now assembled with all the seams nicely glued together. When I'm fitting the mask together, I found that the eyes were a little bit far apart, so I again trimmed a little bit of extra of the half, the center, to make a little bit of a more narrow face. I did reflect that in the updated pattern, so you may not have to do this. Once I'm happy with the look, I am going to glue the mask together. Again, I'm applying glue to each side of the mask. To glue the halves together, I again start in the middle and make sure that the eyes line up. Make sure that the ends line up too and squeeze or pull the foam if necessary. Use a little bit of tape if you can't get the seams to stick together properly. I work my way towards the middle, making sure that each registration mark lines up and is nice and centered. You can stretch and pull the foam into place, and if you want to, you can cut open the neck opening a little bit more if you need to fit your head inside. And that's the mask completed. To wear it and balance it better, you may have to add a ring on the inside of your mask. You can use the extra leftover EVA foam to make the ring and glue it inside. Add some thin black fabric for the eyes or mesh. And this is the EVA foam version compared to my 3D printed version. The EVA foam version is a lot lighter, but the 3D printed version looks a little bit more smooth.